The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious podcast. I'm your host, the original HBIC, Katie Boyd. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously. Oh yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Ambitchious podcast. I'm your host, Katie Elizabeth Boyd, and over here is my ride or die, my wingman, Tyrone Biggums.
I am Tyrone Biggums.
Matt has had like a little bit of a cold, and he just keeps getting these white lips, and he literally looks like when Dave Chappelle plays the crackhead on the Dave Chappelle show. He's like, I love crack.
How do you know I'm not on it right now?
I would, you know what?
I'm on it right now.
You're on crack, but it ain't the crack that we're talking about, if you know what I'm saying. So today's Ambitchious podcast is one of my favorite topics, boundaries, how to have real and everlasting boundaries. You know, we talk about boundaries so much, and I think that people don't even know what the fuck a boundary is. So I'm here to put some truth bombs out here. I'm going to straighten you out real fucking straight. Real good.
Straighten out your can.
Absolutely. But before we start anything, I always love to read the iTunes Ambitchious podcast review of the week. And it starts off with hashtag life goals and 5 stars. And this is from Take a Breath and Work. WERK. I love it. Katie has brought together many angles of life, health, and spiritual practices here on the podcast. For anyone who is lucky to know her at all, she is someone who takes pride in giving back as many ways as possible. For y'all listening, she is the real deal. No walking on eggshells. She is telling you her truth as well as real tips that can help you in your own life journey. Katie is who she says she is. Get enlightened, turn it up, and get some key takeaways that speak to you and your everyday life. Happy podcast listening, all. Take a breath and work. Thank you so much for giving me that review. And please email me at themisfitclub@gmail.com to redeem your $100 gift certificate to use towards anything KBMFC related. So we are going to get right down to it real quick because I have had a lot of problems with boundaries in my life.
Who hasn't? I mean, who teaches you boundaries?
Not the
not
boys.
Many. Apparently not the Baybines either, because I have some.
Yeah, we have some issues.
I had some boundary issues coming up.
Yeah, and what happens is you have like this weird childhood or this crazy childhood or a traumatic childhood, and then you're told from a young age, like, you know, people can do whatever they want to you and you don't have to have any boundaries.
Give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
That's always
Don't judge a book by its cover.
All these little cliches.
Don't use your intuition. I mean, it's going to get you nowhere.
It's going to get you nowhere. Why would you want to use your sixth sense?
That's weird. That's strange. Yeah. But then what happens is this bullshit really spills over into our adult lives. So, for instance, if you are or were a caretaker during your childhood, or you were your parents' referee in their fights, most of the time, if not all the time, this will happen to you as an adult. And then you really just are a little person who grew up to be a big person with no fucking boundaries. And
not good.
That is why a lot of us are walking around this earth depressed and have anxiety and always feel like they don't have control. So we, Matt Baybine and I, are going to give you the top 5 ways, in our opinion. It's actually just my opinion. I write the podcast, and then Matt pretends
No,
it's his
it's my opinion.
Okay.
Too. I have my own opinions over here.
Yeah, you do. Opinions are like assholes, Matt. You know the old saying goes.
Yes, right in the can.
Yep. Okay. So, giddy up. Put your thinking caps on. Clean the potatoes out of your ears, and away we go.
Sounds good.
Number 1. Sometimes being assertive means having to take full responsibility for who you are. So creating boundaries, in my opinion, is not enough. We must follow through after you create the boundaries. Remember, everyone out there in Ambitchious land, people are not fucking mind readers. We cannot assume that everyone that's walking the earth or that you come in contact with knows what your boundaries are at any given moment. We're assuming. And remember what assuming does. It makes an ass out of you and me. You must assertively communicate what you will and will not accept or follow. So what happens to me, because I'm working on my boundaries on a daily basis. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. So Matt will attest to this. Someone will do something to me, and I'll call Matt on the phone, or I'll see him at home, or I'll see him at our company, and I'll be like, who the fuck does this bitch think she is talking to me like this, or thinking that she can get one over on me? And Matt will be like, well, did you ever tell her like that wasn't okay from the jump? And I'll be like, no. So the truth of the matter is, we have to take responsibility for this issue, because in the end, it is truly our fault, right?
Right. And especially boundaries, like, my thing with boundaries was with business and money when I first started, because I really didn't know much about that stuff when I first started years and years ago in my 20s. And I would just assume, like you said, if I did this task for you, you were going to reciprocate and pay me X amount of, or we'll work it out the price at the end, which is always a shit show.
What a pipe dream, Matt.
What a shit show, right? So it's like now I've built myself to the point where it's like, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is what you're going to do for me. This is how much money is going to be exchanged.
Lay it out
Is this okay with you?
Lay it
and
out.
then if not, say something. And if it is, then we go forward. And I know my responsibilities. You know your responsibilities. And we keep up that side of the bargain.
Yes.
And that's something that always needs to be said, right?
Absolutely.
And not only with business and finance, but with pretty much everything.
Yes.
And
if you tell people your boundaries and they still try to cross the line constantly, then you really have to think about, is this person really going to be everlasting or long-lasting in my life? Because if you're saying to someone, my boundaries are X, and they keep doing Y and Z, either they're dumb as fuck or they don't give a fuck about your boundaries. In which case, do you really want people in your life that truly don't care about your boundaries and your safety and what makes you happy?
That's why you may have to say goodbye to that person, because it's just, an intrusion. They may just intrude on everyone's boundaries, and that's just how they are. They're just rude.
Right. And
right?
in that case, they have no friends.
And they're lonely.
Ta-ta-tits.
Lonely. Ta-ta-tits.
Yeah, and
right.
I mean, not everyone is like, I know so many people that I wanted to like so much, and they just kept pushing my boundaries. I'm like, I got to just get rid of this shit, because now I'm just a glutton for my own punishment.
Sometimes we all are, though, Katie. I mean, even the toughest boundaries I've dealt with is being a parent, right?
Oh, my God.
I mean, a kid can really push the boundaries sometimes. And, we just had a boundary push
tell me.
about 3 weeks ago. And I was like so furious because I asked Karina to do a couple of things for me. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll do them. And
that's how
like,
Karina always answers.
Yeah, I'll do it. But,
yeah.
And I know she has a talent. She's a brilliant kid. And I know but it wasn't important to her, and it was important to us.
Yes.
And we had a little bit of a beef for a couple of weeks. And I had to go to her. I said, all right, I'm ready to talk to you now. And when I had the talk with her, I actually made her repeat the things that I said to her. I said, do you understand where I'm coming from? And she goes, yes. And I go, good. Repeat the problem and why I was upset. Do you understand that? Yes. Repeat it again. Now, she's a BU business student. I think she gets the concept.
She's
but
intelligent.
Just to take that and say, repeat it, because then there's no mistakes.
Yes.
There's no cloudiness. There's no,
absolutely
thought process.
Right.
This is why I'm upset with you. Don't let it happen again. End of story. And Katie sent me here on this mission.
Yes. Do you ever feel like our lives, we're like living in an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Sometimes it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I'm like Frank Reynolds.
Frank's my character. I love him.
Oh, damn it. Well, who the hell am I? I'm like a combo of all.
What is it, the ham?
Rum ham.
The rum ham.
Oh, my God.
I love the rum ham.
Number 2, always put yourself first. Okay, listen. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but the truth of the matter is if you put yourself first, if your cup is full, if you take care of yourself, number 1, and you feel good, then who gives a fuck? Like, it's all about how you truly feel. You're going to have more energy to deal with all of the bullshit. A lot of the times when you put boundaries into play and then they break, it's usually because you're exhausted or you're not ready. right? You're not prepared, right? People are catching you off guard or whatever. And honestly, like, I feel like self-care is selfless, not selfish. That's my personal opinion.
And, the minute you put a boundary out there, you say, I'm never going to let this happen again. If this scenario happens again, this is how I'm going to handle it. Well, it's coming around the corner. Because now the universe is like, oh, yeah, you think you get this lesson down? So it's going to come to you. It may come to you in a different face or a different way or sideswipe you when you have a cold or come over this way when you're not feeling 100%. So absolutely, self-care is number one. You have to be ready to be able to take on the day when you leave. When you leave your home, you got to be ready. Or if you pick up that phone, because you don't have to leave your phone home, you can have poor boundaries on the telephone.
Oh,
right?
my God. You have poor boundaries in email. You got poor boundaries on social media. I mean, it's a whole there's so many
a shit show.
Fucking tests constantly. So what we're saying is take care of yourself. And if you put yourself number one, you will be on like your game. Like I talk about this, I think the last podcast is after Kapalo, I got like the fucking bubonic plague. I was so sick. And then it was like everyone was fucking with me. And Matt's like, Katie, no one's fucking with you more than usual. You're just not feeling your 100% self. So every little thing is like, you're like the lion with the thorn in its paw. Like, But when I'm strong and powerful, I'm like, bring it on, motherfucker.
And that's what I had to listen to until that cold was over.
Oh, blow me. Blow me. Matt had a man cold too. And he was like, I just feel so sick. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I've been fucking sick for 3 weeks, you asshole.
I didn't even complain. I had a stuffy nose. You kept on saying, you get the tickle in your throat. You get the tickle in your throat, don't you? I go, no, I don't. I don't have the tickle in my throat. You get your chest. You get chest problems now? I go, no, I don't have any chest problems. I've sneezed like 4 times. It may even be an allergy.
I was just trying to see if your life insurance policy was up to date.
Again, guys, please. There's so much evidence out there that anything ever happens to me, it's her.
Please,
you can't use this as an alibi. I won't allow it.
Death by choking on a chicken bone. I have nothing to do with that.
That would probably be real.
The way you fucking inhale my food.
Yes.
You're going to look like the guy in the Beetlejuice waiting room.
No, but if you stand around and not give me the goddamn Heimlich maneuver, that's not going to help.
You have to teach me that one. I didn't show up for school that day. Number 3, ask yourself openly and honestly and be truthful. Are your relationships in your life reciprocal, right? So remember what I said before. When however we're raised by our family of origin says so much in how our adult relationships are going to play out, right? And the truth of the matter is so many of us do not have reciprocal relationships. Now, I'm not saying like I give Jill this and she has to reciprocate right back to me. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm actually asking you to take a true consensus of your relationships as a whole and really truly think how you are treated and how you're valued, because it's fucking important.
And I think a lot of people think that because I was friends with, Sally in 3rd grade and now I'm 49 or 51, I still have to keep that relationship. And, that's not the case. Your relationships should change, right? As you mature, as you go, you're not with the same boyfriend you dated. I'm not with the same girlfriend I used to date.
God.
Right? So not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was like that was a time, right?
Yes.
So it was everyone's for a reason and a season and all that great stuff. But so many people are like, well, I've known this person for 15 years and you don't align and there's no connection, you don't have anything in common. I'm not saying monetarily. I'm talking about you're talking about the same stuff that happened 20 years ago.
Oh, my God.
Right? It's like, geez, enough. And I think people that's a boundary. Was like, I just wasted so much time being with this person. Love them and release them, right? It's kind of like, hey, good luck and everything like that. But we're just not on the same.
You don't even have to tell them anything. This is another thing, too. I think people think like, if you're going to maybe cut someone out of your life or you're going to step back from them, that has to be like
shot heard around the world. It doesn't. All you do is just kind of move in your own direction, and guess what? That's going to dissipate.
Slowly stop answering their text messages, like their phone calls, and be busy.
Block them.
I hate to say it. Sometimes you got to block a motherfucker.
If they're really negative.
Yeah, because honestly, my soul and my energy means more to me than anything on the face of this planet. Anything. Anything. So that being said, you have to really ask yourself those hard questions. And if the truth of the matter is this person is not being reciprocal, or it could even be worse, even worse than not being reciprocal, they could just be totally just pounding your ass on a daily basis. And and again, like you said, they're my family. They've been my friends since 3rd grade. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Sometimes things that were great for a really long time are broken. And it's up to us as the mistresses or the masters of our destinies or the captains of our ship or whatever you want to say, to make really hard decisions to protect our energy.
Yeah, and we're not getting out of here alive. How much time do you want to spend wasting in loop conversations and negative conversations, boundaries being broken all the time, right? That's kind of like, you're setting yourself up. You're in the United States of America. You don't have to be in any environment that you choose not to be.
Absolutely.
But it's up to you to take those steps and say, hey, enough is enough. This person no longer serves where I'm going in life. And then make the decision. Decide means what? The Latin root of cut off, right? So you make the decision and then move on.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be a big.
Although you like a
sometimes. They don't call me drama queen for nothing.
I don't.
It's in my DNA, people.
I like it just move off into the sunset.
Yeah. No, I'm more. I used to like the drama, but now I'm at a place in my life where I'm just like, don't just fucking leave me alone. Just fucking back the fuck up.
Like Clint Eastwood on his horse, just going off.
Ride off into the sunset. Yes, the good, the bad, the ugly theme plays in the background. Number 4, be self-aware. So I was listening to something the other day. I think it was Ayanna Van Zandt, and she was saying, you draw the line. And then the person crosses it, and instead of being like, excuse me, I drew this line. This is unacceptable for you to cross over it. And if you did care about me truly, you wouldn't. What do we do as people? We draw another line and another line and another line. I have asked someone in my life that I love very much and is very important to me, to not talk about certain things from my past, to not bring up certain people from my past, and not do certain things that really, truly hurt me. And the person just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And it got to the point where I'm just like, I am losing myself as a happy human because I keep allowing this person to do this to me. And I had to absolutely just cut this person out of my life, like no questions asked. And it's so sad. And it's one of the hardest things that I've ever gone through in my life. But my soul, I will reiterate it again, and I hope everyone out there listening to the Ambitchious podcast truly understands this, really takes this in. My soul and my energy and my life, this one precious human life that I have been gifted by God and the universe, means more to me than anything else in this world. And I will protect my boundaries fiercely like a fucking Khaleesi's dragon.
Yeah, and Khaleesi's dragon, that's awesome. I love it.
I will fucking burn the goddamn village down with my fire breath.
And it has to be done.
You don't have a choice after a while.
Saving yourself, and I mean, energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, it's where you have to be.
And really be self-aware, guys. Ask yourself, like, is this my fault? Am I the culprit? Am I allowing this? Is it the person? What do I have to control this situation? Ask yourself those questions. Don't just be like, well, the person did this to me and da-da-da. No, it's your fucking fault. Take responsibility and be self-aware. So if someone's pushing your buttons or they're constantly stepping over the line that you drew, it's no one else's fault except your own, because remember, at the end of the day, we teach people how to treat us.
And it's like sometimes, too, I'll always ask myself the question, would I allow somebody to do this to my daughter? Would I allow somebody to do this to my wife?
Yes.
And the answer is no, right? So, but sometimes people will say, I can take it, I'll put up with it, but you wouldn't allow it for your daughter or son.
Weird.
You wouldn't allow it for your husband. You wouldn't allow it for your wife, but you allow to take that on yourself.
That's so
That's
strange
not
to me.
healthy, because that comes back to what? Self-worth, right?
Yes.
Why aren't you worth? It's like keeping your word to yourself. Right? Same thing, right? It's kind of crazy. But it takes practice, and you have to address it right away. If you don't, it will come back and haunt you like I don't know what.
Yes.
Right? It will just haunt you forever.
Agreed. And I don't like to be haunted.
I don't like scary movies.
Number 5, last but certainly not least, tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Maintaining healthy boundaries means having clear, cut, and direct conversations of expectations with every relationship. I'm not just saying have clear-cut boundaries with friends or your lovers or your husbands or your wives or your boyfriends, your girlfriend. I'm saying everyone, with your business partners, with service providers. You know, like I've had massage before. Just use this as a weird example. Like I've had these amazing massage therapists who are just like so fucking talented. And then all of a sudden they're like talking to you about how their husband's dick doesn't work while they're rubbing your fucking subscap. And I'm like, will you shut the fuck up? Like, I'm paying you $150 for you to massage me because I have like an orthopedic issue in my shoulder.
Yeah.
And you're talking about your husband's dick is small, your kid is an asshole, all this personal shit. And I'm like, my face is in the face cradle going, But you know what? I should have just said from the get-go, you know, I'm not really a big talker during massage. Yeah. So, like, I don't mind saying, like, hey, how are you? La, la, la. I'm not a fucking rude bitch. Well, I actually am, but...
I actually am. Because when
Matt just fucking falls asleep.
I just go like this. The minute I get in there, they start talking to me when I'm getting a massage. Oh, yeah, this is a talking one, huh? Okay. All of a sudden I go...
Oh, my God.
I just start making noises like I'm out like a light.
This prick.
And I'm like, then if she says, is this pressure okay? I go... She goes, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, my God, he's such
then
a
she shuts up. The person shuts up for the whole massage.
He is like
I never have a problem.
Matt is like Meryl Streep. Listen, do you even know what it's like to have a couples massage with this motherfucker?
Sometimes I actually do fall asleep.
He falls asleep, he snores, he
That's
farts.
exhaustion. I do not fart.
Matt,
come on,
please.
Come on. Now you're good.
So now, like when people like, he'll call like if we're going somewhere, and he'll go, "Do you have couples massages?" And I'll be like, "Please, God, don't let them have couples massages at this place." And they're like, "Oh no, all of our couples massages are booked." I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, hon, I can't get that couples massage." I'm like, "Oh, darn it." But do you know what I'm saying, guys? Like this is a real thing. Like you have to say from the get-go, like I'm not a big talker. Or like, you know, don't pull my fingers out of my sockets while you're massaging me while I'm getting a fucking manicure. I mean, but people will do whatever the fuck that they feel like doing unless you step up, live life ambitiously. That's what the whole ambitious movement is all about. And tell people how you truly feel. Because the worst is when you don't say what you really want to say and then you go home and you sit and you perseverate and you stew in your own mind.
It's one of those things that you have to catch. And I think we had an example one night when we were talking, and it was some girl had said something to somebody else that was really under the, what do you call it, under almost like under her breath.
Okay.
And you kind of like have to call that person out and say, excuse me, what did you say?
When was this?
And they won't say it again, right?
When was this?
I forget, but I remember it because I think you said, oh, I'm going to go ask her, what did she mean by that? Or I'm going to ask her what she said. And I said, yeah, I would, because it's kind of sounded kind of sucky, right? Get it from her mouth. And then all of a sudden the woman was like, oh, no. I didn't mean that.
I was just kidding.
And she, you know, I didn't think it was funny. And I thought that was awesome that you did that because that was huge. And it gave me permission, too, to just be like, smack somebody down the next day.
So I'll give you guys a little tip before we finish this Ambitchious podcast. My little tip is if someone says something to you that you don't like, this is one of my favorite things in life to do. It like makes me legit my panties wet. Okay, here's my tip of the day. If someone talks shit or says something that you don't like I've had people do this to me a million times. Like they just want to see how far they can push you. And mostly if someone said, I'll never forget, I was in a wedding a couple years ago, and the groom said in front of the whole entire wedding party, because I do have large breastises. I have very big tatas.
Thank God.
And he said in front of the whole bridal party, oh my God, Katie, your tits are enormous. In front of the whole bridal party. And I was just like, because what do you say? Like, it's so uncomfortable. It's so weird. And my friend, who was the bride, she didn't even say anything. I don't know. I'm like, okay. Now, I went home from that experience and I could not get it off of my head for a week. And I'm like, this is fucked up. So now when people say things like that to me, this is what I do. I look at them and I go, excuse me, what did you just say? And they have two choices. Either they can say the stupid ass motherfucking thing again and embarrass the shit out of themselves, or you know that they're a pussy, number two, because they'll say what? I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
It's not kidding.
Either way, you called them to the carpet.
I'm lucky I wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. You were eating a fucking delicious cheeseburger in the room watching football while I was going through that hellish wedding. That's a whole fucking story for another day. I think I actually did a whole podcast about that.
I think we did too.
A couple months ago.
That was a shit show.
Go back to that one and listen.
That was a good listen.
So that's my tip of the day. If someone talks shit, this is your script. Excuse me, what did you say? I'm telling you, it literally works like a charm every time. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys for coming and listening to the Ambitchious podcast. I hope you guys got a lot of tasty nuggets today. And like I always say, see you next Tuesday.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me on, babe.
Yeah, anytime, you jerk.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.